Welcome to another episode of the Straight Up Chicago Investor Podcast. I'm Tom Shellcross, licensed agent with Second City Real Estate. With me, as always, is Mark Ainley, founder and owner of GC Realty. Mark, what should our listeners do to that subscribe button?
Smash that subscribe button and leave lots of 5-star reviews and refer us to your friends.
There we go. We're turning Eddie and Jobo. I love it.
Yes.
So, hey, I got to see you in person the other day. This was great. I know this will air a couple of weeks ago, but the time we're recording this, we just finished up our little live performance with the Windy City REI.
And I know you and me know this, but I think it's kind of funny for the listeners. It's like, that's probably, you and me have probably seen each other in person less than 10 times our entire life. For as much time as we spend together, and people probably know us to be like that close. Like, we've only seen each other less than 10 times in person in real life.
And we just started doing monthly dinners. So before that, like during COVID, I had seen you like 4 times. Like,
yeah, no, not even that, man. It's crazy. So, but yeah, no, what a great event that was. There was a great crowd, great meetup they have.
Yeah, no. So appreciate to everyone who put that on. I'm not going to name names. I know Chris and his crew, but I'm going to leave 5 people out because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But great event. Check it out. We have them on our webpage. They have an event every once a month, every Sunday, Navigator Tap Room. Just a lot of good stuff, a lot of great guests. And they're booked up pretty much through like August or September with guests. So they're cooking.
Yeah, there's lots of all their guests very high level of information that you could get out of those, except for us, of course. But everybody else that I've seen them bring on there every week, it's just they're really good at bringing good people in for their group. So you got to check that group out. Yeah.
What else we got going on? We ready for a housing provider tip of the week?
Yep. And along those lines of what we talked about actually at that group is right now inventory is tight, and you got a lot of people, get into real estate looking for cash flow. And I just want to point out right now, when you're evaluating deals, there's really 5 things that you can make money on in real estate, at least 5 top ones that if you have a few of these in place, you're going to make money, even though it might not cash flow X amount of hundreds of dollars per month. So keep in mind, you got your appreciation, you have your tax advantages. Talk to your CPA about your true tax advantages. I mean, sometimes on the surface, it's hard for us to really know what money we're saving against our tax or our other earnings based on our write-offs. Principal pay down every month. Even if you're breaking even, you're still losing hundreds of dollars of that loan is getting paid down each month. And the longer that loan gets in, the more that principal is going down every month. Inflation right now, if you have cash in the bank, it's not, you're actually going to probably lose money sitting there in the bank, even if you're getting your 0.5% in your savings account. And then of course, appreciation's there. I know people say don't bank on appreciation, but if you have a long-term hold strategy, appreciation will be there. 10, 15, 20 years from now, your properties will be more than they are today, even if you go down in some sort of real estate cycle.
Yeah, I think, I always look at it almost just like the opportunity cost, or what is the other thing I can do with the finances, right? Compared to something else. And does this still make sense given everything you just laid out there? It doesn't have to be this binary, like, oh, the market's hot compared to 2 years ago. It's like saying, like, I don't know, why would that be your basis point? 2 years ago has passed. You missed it. Like, it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. So the basis point is now, like, you have this, do you buy real estate or do you do something else? Or, it's a now decision, not a now versus past decision.
I am super excited about today's guest. I've been talking with him, for I think it's about 2 or 3 years now. We've been talking. I know it's just before COVID, because I remember when I first spoke to him, I was out of town, and that didn't happen for many years, I think, with COVID. So today's guest, he's from Naperville. He's played football at University of Illinois, which Tom, I was texting Tom last night saying, "Oh man, you know where he's from?" So
he's on the UCLA bowl team. No, you overlap. That's about your timeline, right?
Craft Fight Hunger Bowl champions. Let's get it.
Yeah,
let's go. We won that one.
After graduation, he decided to declare for the NFL, where he spent 3 years with the New York Giants, 1 year with Denver Broncos, and 3 years with the New England Patriots. He's currently a free agent going into his 8th NFL season, and throughout his career, he started investing in real estate from multifamily to single family. We're excited to hear kind of that transition from one career into another. And here today with us is Matt LaCosse. Matt, welcome.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me. Super excited.
Did I get I didn't dive into any stats or anything like that. Did I get your intro? Was it okay?
You killed the intro. There aren't many stats to talk about. So he killed the intro. I've played on a couple teams. I've been in the league for a while. So I've been very fortunate. And yeah, been diving into real estate ever since.
That's awesome. So we're going to dive into a few different things here today, but The one thing that really intrigues me is how one part of someone's life kind of translates into other parts of their life. And, you've played sports your whole life and on the highest of competitive levels, playing professional football in the NFL, but how have those skills and like drives motivated you in business to how does that translate to real estate investing for you so far?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about I've made it to the highest of levels. Obviously, NFL is the highest in professional football. So I guess it kind of motivates me to get to the highest levels of real estate. Now, I haven't been able to put my full heart and everything into real estate because of obviously my professional job. But I think it's something that gives me an extra added motivation. Something I'm used to is just trying to not necessarily strive to be the best, but just strive to get to the top of whatever I'm working on.
Got it. Let's take a step back then. Just how did we get the real estate bug, right? Like, you busy guy, right? I got to imagine you don't have a ton of time on your hands. How did this fall in your lap? Like, let's start from there.
Yeah. Pretty simple, actually. Went to University of Illinois, wasn't a great student. Kind of just always thought like football was the path. If football doesn't work out, I'll figure out something. Fortunately, football worked out. And everyone just kept asking me, what are you going to do after football? What are you going to do after football? And I honestly didn't know. I had no idea or anything. All I know is that I didn't want to work for somebody once I was done in the NFL. So just Googling around, seeing what I could do, stumbled upon Bigger Pockets, which I'm sure a ton of people have. Started reading their books probably my third year in the league and just kept gaining my knowledge and everything. And then 3 years ago, felt comfortable enough to start investing in some multifamily property and kind of just got the bug ever since and trying to expand in different areas and meet as many people as I can. So yeah, it just started with trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And fortunately, I love it.
You said something interesting. You knew you didn't want to work for somebody else. Not many people figure that out that early on. Like, what was it? Did you have a parent that hated his boss? Like, how did you get to that conclusion that early?
It's super ironic. I hate being told what to do, even though I've spent 7 years of my life in the NFL being told what to do. Super ironic, but I just going into work every day and like having to like talk to like live up to somebody else's dreams and aspirations just didn't really sit well with me. So I think I just wanted to see what I could do on my own and try to create a team around me as well, which is what I'm currently trying to do. So I think that's where it kind of came from. I don't know. I just don't like being told what to do sometimes.
Got it. So let's dissect the first investment. But before getting there, I am curious, just a little behind the curtains here. When you're in the league, I know the NFL makes a huge deal about, we have all these financial literacy classes. We want to teach these young men how to invest and how to, was any of that of value, or is that more very, very elementary for someone who maybe, never had any guidance before?
So it is better than it was when I was younger, but it is still not anywhere where it needs to be. It's super for these guys are 22 years old and they become instant millionaires. Some guys get 10 to $15 million right off the bat, which is obviously a substantial amount of money for anybody, let alone a 22-year-old. So it's super, super basic knowledge from the NFL, which these guys do need. And I needed myself as well. I don't want to exclude myself, but it's not a continuing process. It's just pretty much your rookie year. You go to these classes, and maybe your second year, you go to these classes and you learn the super basic information, how to open up a bank account and do all this stuff. But that's about it. And there are places for players to go to further their career development throughout the league, but it's something that the player has to take upon themselves to go search and do, which a lot of guys are so concentrated on playing football because that's where their money, that's where their mind's been all their life, that they're not necessarily thinking life outside of football, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just seems so dangerous to me, right? Like, I people say like, oh, how can you go bankrupt? I could absolutely see it. Like, if you came from nothing and then that's all thrown at you, and you're 22, you're not 35. Mark, like, I didn't know you when you were 22. I have seen pictures of you with frosted tips though. So I know.
You're a Backstreet Boy.
But like, man, it's just such a young time when like you shouldn't have $20 million in front of you. Like, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Or even if you do have $20 million, figure out how to put it or who to hire the right financial advisor.
1,000 people in your ear all saying to do this, that, or the other.
Yeah, just realize a lot of guys are also, they're paying for a lot of people's lives. They're providing housing for family, food, shelter, automobile, multiple houses, insurance, all that stuff. And I think the hardest thing for a lot of people in the NFL is saying no to everyone in your ear. It's better than what it used to be. Guys are a lot more educated now than back in 2015, which was my rookie year. But I think we still have a long way to go.
Cool. Go ahead, Mark.
I imagine the faucet, you when you're 22 or 23, you just know that you can go spend it because your justification is I'll make more next year, or I'll make more next, like it's going to keep coming. And I imagine the harsh reality is when it just stops coming, and then all of a sudden those bills don't stop coming.
Exactly.
Or that lifestyle.
Injuries happen. The NFL is 100% injury rate guaranteed. You're going to get injured. You're going to get injured eventually. It's going to happen. So it depends the severity and if you're prepared for it.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about this first investment now. So one, I want to ask, why did you come back to Chicagoland? Right? Nationally, everyone for lack of better words, craps all over us. It's a terrible place to invest. You can't make money here, even though every week we put on someone on the show that is doing it here. Like, we know that it works, but you were exposed to all different parts of the nation. Why Chicago? And then how are you able to just hone in on an area, right? Because you're not just sitting here like us in front of a computer all day, being able to readily go walk properties.
Yeah, no, like I think first off, I chose Chicago because I'm familiar with it. Chicago and the surrounding suburbs because I'm familiar with it. It's where I'm from. It's my home. And when people say you can't make money in Chicago, like you said, got so many people are doing it. Tons of people have made money, been profitable in the city and the surrounding suburbs. Are there technically, are there more profitable growing cities? Yes, but in some ways, I believe those are also diluted now and overinvested in. So I still think Chicago and the surrounding suburbs is an awesome play, but that's kind of how I got my start. Just it's what I was familiar with. It's what I was comfortable with. I connected with Mark and I knew him in the area and kind of knew a couple people in the area. So I had some good mentors and leaders in front of me that helped me feel comfortable making decisions. And honestly, that's how I got to it. I thought same thing you thought. Other people are doing it. I can do it too.
Awesome. Is your first purchase the 10 unit?
Oh yeah. I went
jumped in. Nice.
I went all in. That building's a story.
All right. So let's talk about it. Let's hear the story. So we don't own anything. And we said, screw it. Let's buy a 10 unit.
Yep. Not in the greatest area.
Okay.
If I do say it's right above Marquette Park in Chicago Lawn. So not in the greatest area. It was kind of during the pandemic as well. And early in my investing career, I was kind of just looking for cash flow. And I saw this property, just like all these other old brick buildings in the not most desirable areas. You see the 10%, you see the 15%, and you get wide-eyed, you get excited. And then when you actually purchase the building and get to work in, you realize, hey, that 10% is looking a lot more like 6 to 8% because of all the maintenance issues, all the hassle and all the things like that. But I got a heck of a deal on the property. I stayed consistent. COVID definitely helped me get a good deal. And I actually just recently sold it. So I was able to get out, fortunately, because the market turned. So yeah, it was a little bit of a whirlwind there. First property was quite a bit for me to take on like that, but I wouldn't change it. It was fun and I learned a lot.
What was there anything specific that really whacked you upside the head with that property that you weren't anticipating?
Yes. I was not knowledgeable on brickwork, windows, anything along those lines, tuck pointing, with Section 8 tenants. I didn't realize how much you actually get, what's the word I'm looking for? Mark, can you help me out? It's, when someone comes in and checks out a CHA tenant. Oh,
it's just the inspections.
Inspection. Yeah, inspection. Section 8 inspections. That I got nailed on that a couple times. And just obviously we were going through COVID times. So people found out that they don't have to pay rent. And we kind of had to deal with that, just like everyone else, I'm sure. So just it was a huge learning curve, but again, we made it a decent investment. So I was happy the way it ended.
So you bought that, and I noticed you have been buying stuff in, so they call that C- D+ type neighborhood, right?
Yeah, exactly.
At 125-year-old building for the most part. And there's a lot of people that do that, and they see the same things that you see. You've shifted away on some of that towards more A, not even B, kind of A and B type stuff. I know you got something in Bolingbrook, maybe call it C+, B-, but what was it just all those troubles you just explained, or what made you make that shift?
No, it wasn't necessarily the troubles. I understood the troubles, and I understood that it was kind of a learning curve, But I think so early in my investing career, and I say that like I've been investing for 20 years, I haven't. But I was really chasing cash flow at the beginning. And I think that's one of my regrets, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later, is if I had to start over and do it all over again, I'd be chasing more of a appreciation, nicer area, something that is a little less hassle because I didn't need the cash flow at the time. So something that would just build up over time, which is why I'm in the Napervilles. I'm looking in the Wheatons. I'm in a nice little pocket in Bolingbrook right now. So I think that's why I'm kind of shifting my focus, just because cash flow isn't the most important thing to me right now. I think it's going to be there eventually. As long as I'm not underwater on the building, I'm happy.
Got it. No, similar mindset. Like I love just thinking of that long term, right? When you hear interviews of the Sam Zells of the world, they're sitting there saying what their net worth is. They're not sitting there saying my cash flow is X. It's important. It's absolute necessity. And for someone who's maybe looking to quit their job and replace it with income, it's great. But otherwise, it's a necessity to keep you alive so you can keep the game going. At least that's my view. And again, might not be right for everyone, but there's definitely a play there, and I feel it doesn't get articulated enough.
Exactly. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. It's just what you said. It's what works best for me. I'm in it for the long game. I like the properties I have in these A, B areas, and I'm looking forward to see what the future holds with them.
Well, let me add one more thing, because I think this is an important fact, and I think you could probably attest to it. Is I referred you to Jason Marcoy's at Landmark because we didn't have coverage in that area, and you worked with the property manager. I think he's a good property manager. I don't think you had any complaints, but even though he probably handled most of these issues, you still had to be there to verify. You still had to be there to transfer money. You still had to. So a lot of these people buy these turnkey properties that are in these C and D class neighborhoods and thinking, I got a property manager. And even if it's a good property manager, that good property manager still has to bother you for every little thing that, not every little thing, but there's a lot of average size things that you as the owner have to know about. And you still get that capacity or your mind taken up by that property, even though you have a good property manager in mind. And that's what happens with that C and D class.
Oh yeah, I spent more time on this property, even though I wasn't managing it myself. And Landmark did a great job. They're working their tails off on it too. But I spent more time on that than I did all my other properties combined. Which I'm sure so many people have the same story.
Yep. So we move out to the burbs, and I mean, you're from Naperville, correct? Like that's the initial stomping grounds.
Naperville North High School.
Woo! Oh, that's also going to be our Chicago fact, little teaser. We're gonna bring back your Max Preps high school playing days here.
Oh, gracious.
All right. So how are, I think a lot of people are interested in those areas, right? Because they're great areas, great schools. We've had a couple episodes on them. How are you sourcing deals out there? Because I know you swooped up a couple things. Like, are you going direct? Are you finding stuff with owners? Are you just beating up the MLS? So let's talk through like acquisition strategy.
So my 3 Naperville properties were straight off the MLS. Actually, that's a lie. 2 of the Naperville properties were straight off the MLS. I got fortunate. I knew one property extremely well because actually it was my elementary school crush's house growing up. It was right down the street from my parents. So I was able to swoop up and buy that one. And then I had a duplex that I was able to work a deal with some people. I saw it before everyone else did. My other Naperville property, it was actually my realtor's property. And I saw the potential to add a 3rd bedroom to it. It was a 2-bed, 2-bath, and I saw the potential to add a 3rd bed. Mark, you've been in that one. So that's right next to the train station in downtown Naperville. And then my Bolingbrook property was an off-market deal. I was an older lady who was moving to Iowa with her daughter, just needed to get out. It was in rough shape. So was able to get that one and do a little value add and refinance my money out. So 2 off-market, 2 MLS in the suburbs. And then my 10 unit was also an off-market deal.
Awesome. So, and then what is your involvement right now? So, I mean, you're obviously, we're trying to get recruited. We're trying to get into our 8th season. What is your actual like time allocation per week, you think? Like honest assessment of, I'm spending X amount of time finding deals. I'm spending X amount of time, maintaining these ones I've just purchased.
Yeah. It needs to be more, but I'd say I spend my mornings. Usually I'm up around like 5. I'll usually work on either finding deals, evaluating deals from around 5, 6:37. So I'd say probably 2 to 3 hours a day is spent looking for deals, evaluating deals, talking to people. And that's just during the weekday. So I'd say probably 10 to 12 hours a week is spent strictly on real estate. Now, hopefully when I retire from the NFL, that number goes up and I'm able to explode this thing a little bit. But right now, that's what I'm comfortable with.
Got it. No, that's great. That's a higher number than I expected, right? And it's also you putting in the time, right? You're waking up at 5 to make it happen. Like,
and I enjoy it. I think that's what makes it the easiest thing. If I hated doing it, I wouldn't do it, right? And I just want to, especially right now in this competitive market, it's hard to find places. So I'm trying to be the first one in to get my foot through the door. And I'm 0 for a lot this year in making offers, but that's okay. So that's basically what I do in a week.
Finding deals, I always tell people if as long as it's a one kind of stat that if you're 10% or under, you're still doing pretty good.
No doubt.
As far as evaluating and finding good stuff, you just end up building the muscle of evaluating deals and ruling out the other 90% faster is what you're training yourself for right now.
And you learn areas. That's honestly what I'm doing. I know what something rents for an area. I know what something's worth in an area. So worst case scenario, you're learning.
So you've bought the multi in the city, you've bought some scattered, you got a multi in the suburbs. You've done a few rehabs now, fairly medium sized type rehabs. Mm-hmm. What are you really looking at right now? Are you looking just to kind of grow more of that scattered site? Or are you looking into more development type stuff?
So good question. I'm continuing to look for rental properties in those kind of A, B+ areas, whether that be single family, duplex, triplex, quad, all those, so on and so forth. Obviously, those are tough to come by. But I am moving on to getting into private lending. I know a couple flippers, rehabbers. I'm trying to get into some private lending deals. And then I'm starting to dabble in some development deals, kind of where you kind of are, kind of Kane County area. And also in Naperville, there's a development deal that I'm kind of going back and forth on. So just trying to dip my toe in, see what fits, evaluate as many deals as I can. Also, if I can flip a couple of properties to make some money to put back into some more deals, I'd love that as well. Looking at,
we're at a weird time right now where we're not sure what's going to happen with Russia. We're not sure with inflation. We're not sure if this is the start of some kind of downturn. Like what type of precautions are you taking as far as kind of looking at these larger scale things or even private money? Is there anything that you're nervous about?
On the terms of the buy and hold side, I'm not super nervous. If there's a 7% interest rate and the deal works at 7% interest rate, it works. Whether it works at a 3.1% or a 7, doesn't really matter. The deal works for me. So I'm going to get on it. Flipping, I'm a little nervous just because you don't know how the market's going to be with the interest rates. I think the market's going to somehow keep going up. But if I have a flip that takes 9-10 months, and then all of a sudden interest rates go from 4 to 6 somehow, obviously it's going to be harder for someone to afford the new property. So flips I'm a little bit more cautious on, but for buy and holds, if the deal works for me.
Is interest rates, and maybe I ask both you guys this, is interest rates going to be what's going to kind of curtail rising prices even in the face of low inventory? Tom, you want to start it off?
Sure. Like demand is still just so high. Like demand is just so, supply and demand is nowhere near, rates can go to 7. I think we're still going to have a supply shortage, right? It'll help this like craziness of getting, 20 offers all over a list. Like I think it'll help bring it down, but we're just the fundamentals are still just so far off and we're not building enough new ones either. So like, I see like there's not enough good product on the market. So you mentioned like flipping and like, you never know what's going to happen 9 or 10 months. Obviously a valid concern, but like good product will still be out there. Like there's a lack of good product. Like I feel real good about everything that we're putting on the market. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but supply and demand is completely out of whack. And I also feel like we can't have this crazy runaway inflation for the sole reason that we are a global economy, right? This isn't 1950s where it's just us. Like if we start having this where, hey, we're gonna have to pay someone $100,000 to work at McDonald's, it's like, no, we're gonna outsource it, right? We're gonna use technology. We're gonna go to India. We're gonna go to China. Like we have these caps that kind of hold our inflation to a certain level. Like we can't have this crazy runaway inflation. I guess we could, but like it would just be bonkers if we did. Like there's all these global pressures that would curtail that to some point if it got, everyone talks about, hey, rates used to be 14%. Like, I don't see how that would ever happen. Because if it did, like, it would just destroy middle, low class America.
Yeah, I think you made a good point with Yeah, there's definitely low inventory and good product is still going to sell, but I've been noticing, at least on my offer end, there's still competitive offers, but there just aren't as many right now. And we'll see if that picks up in June and May coming here right now. But yeah, like you said, like inventory is still low, so it's going to stay competitive, but I am seeing, at least on my end, the offers coming down a little bit, less people in the game.
Well, yeah. Well, it used to take, us 90 days to sell a house in the market. We'd have all these open, and now it's like, shit, we went to the second weekend. Are we priced wrong? Like, it's like, it's still kind of all, all relative.
Yeah.
Going back to making offers, hey, do you pull the line like, hey, I played in the NFL? Like, does anyone give a damn? Has it helped you in any way? Or are you just like the rest of us scrounging here?
So that's a phenomenal question, because it's actually this has to do with something that just happened to me recently. So I keep the NFL completely out of everything I do real estate investing wise. It's at least on an offer and selling side of things, because the first thing people think of when you play in the NFL is, oh, he has money.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be offering 200,000 on a house. Like, no, we know he can pay 300,000, right? That's the first thought that goes in their head when they know I played 8 years in the league, but I never made huge money. There's a lot of thousandaires in the NFL now. So not all of us are making 10, 20 million. So I try to keep all NFL business, all that stuff all to the side, because I've noticed it hurts me more than it helps me.
Yeah. I know when I first got, like you have your proof of funds, your line of credit, like I used to tell Renova to put the big, put my max on there. Worst and, thing. Just to be like, show them I'm serious. And it's like, this is hurting me. Like, put the number they want and that's it. Like every time. I put
like the exact number that I'm offering right on my pre-approval every single time.
Yeah, nothing more.
Yeah. Let me ask this question though. Is there any opportunity for you in the syndicate spot to be almost a thought leader with your coworkers and kind of, if you guys talked about any of that stuff as far as pulling the money together?
You're talking about my teammates?
Yes, correct? Yes, yeah.
Co-workers is such a great word there.
You don't hear coworkers. I just hear teammates all the time.
I was trying to be discreet about him.
Can you talk about your coworker Tom Brady?
Yeah, I'm sure he has a couple dollars to put into a deal. I'm sure, but no, there's a decent amount of NFL guys who invest in real estate. I know Devin Kennard is actually a big real estate investor in Arizona. Kendrick Bourne invests in Portland, who's a wide receiver for our team. But there's not as many as you think there would be, which is, I would love to kind of lead the initiative to get more NFL guys involved in real estate investing. Because number one, I think it's a great place for them to put their funds and to learn and kind of have a path to go on to their next career. But in terms of actually actively pursuing it, you'd be amazed how many guys are like, no, I just play football. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking for that second and third contract, because that's everyone's motivation in the NFL, because you don't really make money on your first contract unless you're a first round draft pick. It's that second and third contract where guys are really fighting for.
Well, I think about, what's that show on HBO with The Rock? Yeah. And him, like, if he just gathered everyone's money to invest in real estate, like that's where my mind's like, hey, that's what I would do if I was like, and now I could do that.
It depends. Some guys' mindset's not there, but a lot of guys' mindsets are, and they all invest in different places in the country. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully one day we can get it all going together.
It's on your shoulders, Matt. Start a podcast. We got 100%. This.
It's 100% my fault that we're not doing it, right?
Yeah. So let's fast forward. Let's say you get another good 5-6 years. Like, you put in your time, but at some point it will be over, right? And you're coming back, coming back to DuPage County. And what does that look like? Where do you see yourself when you do the flip and real estate becomes number one priority? Like, do you see yourself as doing these syndications, or just, hey, I'm going to buy, 50 units, kind of live off it and call it a day? Like, have you thought that far out? What does it look like?
That's a good question, because I always teeter the line of how much effort do I want to put into real estate, because I absolutely love it and I see the positives of it. But I also love my family time, and I love going to our lake house. I love fishing, doing all that stuff. So it kind of teeters the line. I would love to get involved with syndications. I have to learn a lot more about it. And again, 5 years down the road is a long time for me, especially NFL years. That's completely ancient. So I think in the meantime, just going to keep finding real estate deals, hopefully team up with as many good people as I can. I think that's something I struggle with, is I have a heart, even though I play on a team, I haven't had enough time in real estate to really develop a team. I have Mark, I have a bunch of other guys that I can kind of pick their brains on, but I'd love to form a partnership with someone I can trust and kind of join these syndications, do these development deals, kind of these bigger properties, because I love these single families in Naperville, special area in Bolingbrook, smaller multifamily, but I'd love to take the next step and go a little bit bigger, but there's a lot to learn and a lot of time I need to put into it before I feel comfortable to say, hey, I'm all in on real estate, because obviously I'm still in the NFL right now, and that's my main focus.
So going back 5-6 years, starting over kind of your real estate journey from figuring out due diligence and so forth, like what would you have done differently looking back so far?
Yeah. What I said earlier, I would have invested in the A and B areas from the get-go. I took a chance on that 10 unit in a not great area in Chicago. And honestly, it was a solid building. I probably could have done some things differently, and we made some decent cash flow and sold it for a profit. But I think I could have spent my time and my money better, I guess is the word, in an A or B area. And I think I would have branched out and tried to make a little bit more relationships than I did. I think I have a hard time using my platform sometimes because I hate saying, oh yeah, I play in the NFL. You want to team up? Because I hate using that. But I think people would enjoy hearing that and joining with someone who kind of has a sports background. So I think just creating more partnerships and investing in more AB areas is how I would like to start.
When I remember the first time you and me spoke on the phone, and me being trying to find common ground with people, I'm always like, so what do you do? And you're like, or you told me like, I live in Boston X amount of months out of the year. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, what do you do? What's your background? You're like, I'm an NFL player. I'm like, oh, like I felt guilty like for not like recognizing the name.
I'm not a very well-known NFL player. I don't know. Just like I almost get embarrassed saying it sometimes, if that makes sense. Like I would rather someone just talk to me just like, cause it's me, instead of like, cause I get sometimes people only want to talk to me because I'm an NFL player, when really I'd rather just have them talk to me because it's me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It makes sense, man. I see a lot of opportunity though, right? Cause it's not like you're just some guy in the NFL, like out there, like you're doing it. Right. Like you're out there making offers, you're scrounging just like the rest of us here.
Amen. And
like there's proof in the pudding.
If you're not willing to do it, you're not going to succeed at this. Like you have to, just because you might have a little more money in the bank or come from quote unquote, like a very high professional background, doesn't mean you don't have to scrounge and get your hands dirty and go to work as well. So if you don't do that, I don't think you're going to be successful.
If you haven't read into Magic Johnson's kind of post-sports career outside of disease and stuff like that, but if you haven't read into like his real estate ventures, like he really found a way to leverage those relationships to be he's a real estate magnate now, I would call it. I think he owns a couple of sports teams or part of the couple of sports teams, so forth. So like he's really leveraged it. He'd be probably a good guy for you to research if you haven't.
Yeah, I just found that out right now. So I'd love to. I love Magic Johnson, so that'd be awesome.
Matt, do you see yourself, what else do you see nationally outside of Chicago? Like, do you say like, hey, this is my hood, I think I'm going to stay here locally? Have you started to look at other areas, or, where's your head at around that space?
So I think locally right now is where I'm at. I've been trying to get in Northwest Indiana, in all honesty, a little bit as well. Super competitive lately there. Tried a couple deals, lost a couple offers. Honestly, I was in Boston for 3 years. We bought a condo out there and kind of flipped it, lived in it, and then sold it off this year. But I was searching for multifamily out in the Foxborough, North Attleboro areas of Boston and Massachusetts. I think that's an awesome area that I need to look into a little bit more. And I made a couple offers while I was out there as well during the season, and unfortunately didn't get those. But I think the southern suburbs of Boston are awesome, especially anywhere around Foxborough, obviously the Patriots. And then Northwest Indiana, I've been trying to get into as well.
It's crazy. Boston's houses are 100 years older than ours.
Yeah, no, and they're super cool too. It's like there's some pockets in the Boston area too, where it's not like super, super old houses, or you get one that is totally like been like, as long as the mechanicals are kind of turned around and flipped a little bit, you'll be good. Like the houses will usually be smaller and everything, but there's some sneaky areas outside of Boston, and rent prices have shot through the roof there this year. Just like a lot of places in the country, but it's a sneaky area.
Yeah, I saw a house 1772, and it was one of the northern suburbs of Boston in Massachusetts. But
Probably around the Harvard area, right?
yeah, that's like literally before like this country started officially.
It's cool. Like it's a bunch of history. I loved living there, and there's a bunch of real estate people out there who do some awesome work.
All right, awesome. All right, Tom, anything else?
Let's wrap it.
All right, Matt, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So as a real estate investor, what is your competitive advantage?
I think just what we talked about, just the work ethic that comes with being a professional. Like I know what it takes to be successful in a line of work. And then once I'm retired and done with the NFL, I think just the willingness to get grimy and get down and get stuff done is kind of what my competitive advantage is.
Oh, I love Get Grimy. There's a softball team we play against called Grime. I think it's a great name.
Softball team?
And their name is Grime. And I was like, oh, we should have named ourselves that.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
What is one piece of advice you would tell someone that is yet to buy their first property here in Chicago?
Do what I didn't. Go network. Go meet with people. I pretty much just called Mark off Google. I Googled property managers and then called Mark, and he's been a great resource. But go network and meet with as many people as you can. Try to form a team, whether it be an attorney, realtor, property manager. Honestly, that's the best thing you can do, because if you haven't bought a property yet, your knowledge is so far behind everybody else's. And I don't think that's something that just books and podcasts and YouTube videos can make up for. You actually have to get firsthand knowledge from people. So I'd say network.
Knowledge and take action. The dichotomy. All right. What do you do for fun?
Fish a bunch. Love to go around the Bass Lakes around here. We have a lake house up in Michigan, which I love going to. I have a little 18-month-old, so him running around, we run around the backyard, do as much stuff as we can with him. And then I'm a big sport card collector. So love collecting sports cards. I have my own sports cards page, so I spend a bunch of time on that. So that's kind of my little side hobby.
We got to talk, man. I just recently got back into that. That was kind of my hustle as a teenager, selling baseball cards and doing baseball card shows or small sports ones.
Call me anytime. I have quite the collection behind me.
Nice. I know in my parents' house, they still have the old Beckett's I used to have. So you get that pricing.
The old Beckett. Pricing. There's a different way to price them these days.
Yep.
Nope. I only go to the old school Beckett.
And you wait for it to come out every month. I remember.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's an awesome hobby. I love it.
What is a good book, podcast, or self-development activity that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Ooh, wasn't prepared for this. Honestly, the Bigger Pockets books are a good place to start. If anyone has any ideas, wants to just get started and everything, Brandon Turner, How to Invest in Real Estate. Everyone does the Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think that's just a good mindset book. I'd be wrong if I didn't plug this podcast and say, especially if you're in the Illinois area, listen to this podcast. The Bigger Pockets podcasts are solid. And just research. Anyone who comes on here and gives a suggestion for a book, write it down and put that in your own personal library and take the time to read it.
That's
Appreciate the call. Now we're going to say we're endorsed by the NFL and the New England Patriots.
There we go. Love it.
All right. Besides yourself, name one person in your local network that you'd highly recommend to other investors as a quality resource.
Outside of Mark Ainley himself, honestly, Bebek Doss, the Doss Law has helped me a bunch. Just he's been great. Again, another guy that Mark connected me with, and he's been great to work with, super responsive and super intelligent. So I think Bebek Doss has been just awesome for my real estate business.
He is so responsive. I always ask him a question. How the hell are you doing like actual attorney work? Because you're always
I was in Mexico. I was in Mexico last year. He's calling me on a Saturday. It's just like talking about the week. I was like, hey, go spend time with your family.
Episode 17, by the way. He was an OG for us.
Yeah, and then you work with, we'll do the shout out Josh Mitchell too. I know you do deals with him. He was episode 101.
Yep. I love Josh too. He's awesome.
So Matt, thank you so much. You provide a ton of value to our listeners. How can they learn more about you? Is there any way they can provide value to you?
Honestly, if you are in the area and like doing deals, like talking real estate, just reach out to probably the best way without me actually giving my personal phone number would be just my Instagram page. Shoot me a DM over there. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. It's an awesome name. It's Matty Lack 11. It was created my sophomore year of college. I was number 11. So that's probably the best way to reach me and see if we can put something together.
Awesome. All right, Mark, who do we got for the potential $100 here for the Chicago Fact?
This is a real name. For anyone that's over 40 will think this is a joke. Juan Valdez. I don't know if you guys remember the coffee commercials. It used to be Juan Valdez. Maybe I'm the old one here. But Juan Valdez out of Clearing. He bought a straight up Chicago Investor t-shirt. So,
all right. So I had to go to Max Preps for this one. We're going to go back to, we're going to see how well Mark knows the local high schools here. And I can't remember. I think you went to Addison, so I don't think this was in your conference. So we'll see if you get this. But anyways, so Matt led Naperville North to the 8A quarterfinals his senior year, for those who didn't know. And Matt, you can't answer this. Let Mark do it. But their last high school win came against this local high school, whose mascot is the Dukes. And I'll give you multiple choice unless you know this already.
Go ahead, give me the. I don't know.
All right. Their mascot is the Dukes. Is it A, Maine South, B, York, C, Minoka, or D, Conant?
Not Conant. It's not Conant. Geez.
Known for their cross-country legacy.
I'm taking what was my second option?
Maine South, York, Manuka, or Conant?
York.
The York Dukes. Am I right, by the way, Matt? I'm looking this up from Max Preps.
You're right. You are right. That was that last game in the quarterfinal was crazy.
Yeah, York was in my conference. They're right there out of Elmhurst, York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
See, you should have gotten that. So you won $100 there, right? That was kind of like anticlimactic. There's a lot of hemming and hawing.
No. I actually I was trying to picture all the different because I know Conan. I know all their football fields, and like I remember just like I was trying to picture like never mind, whatever. Like awesome. All right, dude. Juan Valdez. I forgot to say that it's sponsored by Renovo. So you get a $100 gift card for purchasing something on the Straight Chicago Investor website.
Awesome.
Well, dude, awesome show. Matt, thank you very much for coming on. Tom, thank you as always. Listeners, head over to the Straight Chicago Investor merchandise store, grab a t-shirt, grab a hat. I think you could even, if you're still protective, you can get a face mask, Straight Chicago, or we got baby bibs talking about babies here a little. So grab that and you can enter it in the drawing to win $100 if I get the question right. So Matt, thank you very much. Tom, thanks as always. And listeners, we'll see you next week.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks all.